Our practical today is erythrocyte sedimentation rate. By the end of this practical, you must be knowing what is ESR, that is erythrocyte sedimentation rate, what is its principle, its mechanism, the factors affecting ESR, both whether they are increasing ESR or decreasing ESR, the methods to perform it, and its clinical significance. First of all, let's just break the word ESR. ESR stands for erythrocyte sedimentation and rate. Erythrocytes, as you know, are RBCs, red blood cells. Sedimentation is settling down of RBCs at the bottom of any liquid, or simply sedimentation is settling down of solid particles at the bottom of the liquid. Next, what is rate? Rate is amount in a given time. So these combine as the RBCs take some time to settle down at the bottom of a liquid. The rate at which they settle down is known as ESR, or erythrocyte sedimentation rate. Now, why do we perform this test? Why is there any need to perform this test? There are two things, there are two terms. One is diagnostic and other is prognostic. First of all, let's come to diagnostic. Does it have any diagnostic significance? Maybe no. Does it have any prognostic significance? Definitely yes. Now, what is diagnostic and what is prognostic? Diagnostic is something, a test that confirms the person is suffering from a disease, and which disease the test will definitely tell us. But if a test is prognostic, it may or it may not tell us the diagnosis of the patient, but it will definitely tell us the person is having remission or exacerbation. Now there are two terms, remission or exacerbation. Or simply you can say the disease has resolved or the patient's condition is improved or not. And exacerbation means the condition has worsened. So the ESR basically tells us the patient is having a particular disease. We don't know which disease because it is not diagnostic, but we will, when repeat the ESR, it will definitely tell us the condition of the patient is improving or not. If the ESR is raising, that means the patient is having a disease that is exacerbating or that is increasing, or the condition of the patient is worsening. If we have ESR value first time, for example, ESR was, in the first time it was 11. When we repeat the test after 2 weeks or so, the ESR value it has raised to 45 mm. It can be in certain conditions. That means the condition of the patient has worsened. If this ESR will be decreased after 2 weeks or so, for example, it was 11 in the initial reading and then it was 5 mm, then the patient condition has definitely improved. Now, is it a specific test? No, it is non-specific. The value will definitely tell us that the person is having some kind of inflammation or infection, or there is something wrong in patient's body. But what is wrong, we cannot tell by this ESR. Then why do we perform it? Again, why this test? Because first of all, it is inexpensive, it is easy to perform, you can easily perform in the lab. There are no expensive equipments, no heavy machinery required. So that's why we perform this. Also, it gives a very good idea of a patient's condition, that it has improved or not. So again, it is inexpensive, it is less costly. So we perform this test in the lab. Now, what is the principle? Let's discuss the principle of ESR. When we talk about principle, it's written in your notebooks. You have to memorize it. You have to cram simple words. When we allow the RBCs, when we allow the blood to stand in a vertical tube for 1 hour, for the first hour, the rate at which they settle down at the bottom is known as ESR, or erythrocyte sedimentation rate. And what is its mechanism? Why RBCs settle down? It is due to rouleau formation. Now, what is rouleau formation? Rouleau formation is just simply stacking up of the RBCs in a vertical manner. Here you can see these are RBCs. when they are allowed to stand in a tube, they pile up on each other just like the coins, the stack of coins. That's why these are named as rouleau. So this is rouleau formation, and it is the principle behind our whole practical. Now let's talk about these stages of ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate. Again, in the first stage there is rouleau formation, in the second stage there is sedimentation, and in third stage there is packing. So overall it is of 60 minutes, that is first hour of your practical. So in first 10 minutes rouleau formation occurs, in next 40 minutes that rouleau stack of packing. Exactly after first hour we'll take our reading of ESR. Okay, so now the factors that are responsible for increase or decrease in the ESR. There are some physiological factors which are normal. There is no abnormality. These are all physiological. Pregnancy is a physiological phenomena. In this ESR is increased. Menstruation is physiological. In this also ESR is increased. Increased temperature of body also increases ESR, and ESR is naturally higher in female gender. So these are all physiological. And next, pathological. The pathological conditions, or you can say the disease processes in which ESR is increased, are acute infection, chronic infection, anemia, malignancy, severe trauma, or any autoimmune disorder. Now come to the factors that decrease the ESR. ESR is physiologically less or decreased. It has less value in infants. It is decreased in polycythemia, in spherocytosis, and congestive cardiac failure. By the end of the practical, you must be knowing all these factors and you must memorize them, that what are the factors that increase ESR and what are the factors that decrease ESR.
Now let's have a look at your practical notebook. First, learning objectives are mentioned, then there is introduction, and then there are normal values. For male, it is 3 to 5 mm at the end of first hour, and for females, it is 7 to 12 mm at the end of first hour. Next, you can see the principle of ESR, which you must memorize. Here, specific gravity of RBCs and plasma is mentioned. Basically, RBCs settle down due to their higher specific gravity, their greater specific gravity than the plasma. Next is protocol, apparatus, and reagent that we will be using in the practical. Next, there is method. There are two methods, again Westergen's and Wintroth's. The detail of Westergen's method and the procedure is given. You have to read it, and in the next page we have precautions. We must take these precautions, otherwise our results won't be accurate. So far we have discussed that the ESR is increased or decreased in certain conditions. But what are the factors that increase or decrease ESR? What are the factors that basically affect it? Some of these factors are shape of RBCs, number of RBCs, plasma proteins, body temperature, and cholesterol. Next, there is clinical significance. I have told you that it has great prognostic significance, but it is non-specific as well. Now, the conditions that affect ESR, again there are physiological and pathological conditions that affect ESR. Among physiological conditions, ESR is increased in female, ESR is decreased in infants and high altitude. These are all physiological conditions. Next, we come to pathological condition. ESR is increased in anemias except sickle cell anemia. In anemias, the RBC count is low, so the RBCs settle down at a faster rate, so ESR is increased. In infection, there are certain proteins that affect the ESR. They will make the RBCs to sediment faster. Same goes for chronic infection, trauma, septicemia, malignancy, and autoimmune disease. Next, increased plasma globulin level. There are two proteins globulins and albumins. So basically globulin will increase the ESR, whereas if the level of albumin drops in our blood, it will increase ESR. So you have to keep this in mind. Albumins tend to keep the RBCs away. So if albumins are reduced, the RBCs will settle down at a faster rate. So we have higher ESR value. Next, the factors that decrease ESR or the conditions in which the ESR is decreased is polycythemia. In polycythemia, number of RBCs are greatly increased. So the negative charges on the RBCs will repel each other more and it will take longer to settle down. That's why we have decreased ESR in polycythemia. Next is afibrinogenemia. Let's just break this word. A means absence, fibrinogen is a protein, and emia in blood. So basically when there is deficiency or decrease in fibrinogen in the blood, it will decrease the ESR. In spherocytosis and sickle cell anemia, as you know, the shape of RBCs is distorted, so it will take longer to settle down. That's why we have decreased ESR in these conditions. Next, rouleau formation. I have told you before what is rouleau formation and then how it happens. Next are few questions you must be able to answer by the end of the practical. What is ESR? Why do RBCs settle down in the blood? The answer is quite simple due to their specific gravity. What is rouleau formation? Why is ESR low in infant? Why is ESR higher in female? I have told this again. Name the conditions in which ESR is raised. Name the conditions in which ESR is decreased. By now, you must be familiar with the conditions, both physiological and pathological, in which ESR is disturbed. What are the various factors which affect ESR? We have just discussed now. Next, we have scenario. A 23-year-old pregnant lady visited a gynecologist. She was very upset because during her routine blood investigation, she found all values of complete blood count, that is CBC, normal, but increase in ESR. Here you will define ESR, what is the normal range, name the other physiological conditions, and then why it is higher in pregnancy. Next, scenario 2. A 62-year-old male is brought to the medical outdoor with history of cough, low-grade fever and sweating, especially at night for last 2 months. These are all symptoms and signs of TB, tuberculosis. Investigation shows increase in the number of lymphocytes and ESR. Montauk's test is positive. This is a test we do for TB diagnosis and it is positive. You will learn about this in later. But for now, you must know that it is a scenario of TB. What is probable diagnosis in this case? It is tuberculosis. Why ESR is raised in this condition? Because it is a chronic infection. What is the clinical significance? We have discussed it earlier. Name the other pathological conditions in which ESR is raised. This concludes your practical for ESR. Now we'll move towards the performance. But before that, you have 2 blank pages in your notebook. At the first, you will write the results and draw a diagram of the apparatus, and in the dotted line page you will answer these questions from question number 1 to question number 8. Let's move towards the performance now.
Now the apparatus needed for the ESR is Westergen's rack, Westergen's tube. As you can see, it has markings from 0 to 200 millimeter. We have a sterile syringe, disposable syringe. We have tourniquet. We have alcohol pad to disinfect the area from which we are taking the blood, the anticoagulant and the tube to mix the anticoagulant and the blood drawn. Okay, now how to take sample from the subject. After taking consent, we'll expose the arm of the patient. We will take a sample from antecubital vein. For this, we have to apply tourniquet. After applying tourniquet, we'll ask the subject to close the fist and then we'll palpate for the vein. Okay, once we palpate the vein, we will sterilize it with the alcohol pad, and after that we will draw blood with the help of this disposable syringe. Now, after drawing the blood, we will ask the patient to just press it for 1 or 2 minutes, and we will immediately leave the tourniquet and ask the patient to open the fist. Now we have 2 ml of blood drawn from the antecubital vein. We have 0.5 ml of 3.8% sodium citrate, which is the anticoagulant in this case. We will drop this blood in this anticoagulant solution. Once we are done with this, we will mix this blood with the anticoagulant thoroughly. Now we will take our Vistergence tube and dip it inside the tube, anticoagulant and the blood mixed solution. Now we have to suck it up to the 0 mark. Once we suck it, we will place it in the Vistergence rack. Okay, now once you have sucked the blood up till mark of 0 milliliter, you have to keep your finger at the mouth end so that the pressure is maintained and the blood won't leak out. After that, how to place this tube on the rack? There is a cork here at the bottom. Here we will gently place our tube and then we'll lift our finger and then just pull this and just place it like this. It should be vertical. There should be no leaking of blood and the mark should be up to 0 millimeter. After that, once we have placed this, we will note down the time, and after 1 hour, exactly 1 hour, we'll note the reading. Now after 1 hour, you can see that the level of the blood has dropped up till mark of 5 millimeter. You can count it from here: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 millimeter. So your answer would be, or your result would be 5 millimeter in first hour. The blood we took was of a male patient and it falls within the normal range according to the gender. So your result is 5 millimeter, which is of normal value.